And welcome to Imagination Fun Time. I am your host, Brandon Devine. Hello, how are you guys today? What is today? Today is Monday, March 21st, 2022. Almost 20 years since the first Spider-Man movie was released. Don't know why I just gave that random fact, but it's just been on my mind recently that it's been literally 20 years since the first Spider-Man, Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies was released, and just I remember seeing it so vividly in theaters and watching it at home, and it's like that was 20 years ago. What the fuck, man? So, anyways, I hope you're all doing good. I hope you're all having fun. And hope you're all been enjoying this lovely March. It's been a pretty up and down kind of time with weather here in Arkansas. But, it's starting to warm up. Still getting some cold days. Trying to think, what was the last movie I went to see? I went to see something. It was the Batman. Yeah, went to see the Batman. I think it was like last week. Fucking dope. Fucking awesome. Great movie. Dark Knight is still so much better, but that's like literally a whole nother level of conversation that I'm not going to get into. But please go see The Batman. It is a fucking great movie. All right, what should we start with today? Oh, I know. Let us start with some news. What is the news on IMDb? Okay, so as of right now, Monday, March 21st, 2022. The top news on IMDb is Coda, Succession take top prizes at Producer Guild Awards. I did not know there was such thing as the Producer Guild Awards. Okay, that's good. Succession, I feel like, is a show I'll probably start watching eventually. I just don't have the attention span to do it. The Batman adds $36 million at box office and approaches $600 million worldwide. Not a surprise there, since, if it's not a superhero film nowadays, you're not going to really make that much money. Oh, that sucks. Oscars to feature all-star band with Travis Barker, Sheila E., and Robert Glasper. Okay, that's going to be fun. I'm still very excited about watching the Oscars on Sunday because it's one of my favorite nights of the year, but I think I'm starting to lose the enthusiasm for it, but we'll see how we do it this year. See how it goes this year. Oh, I'm so happy about this. The Mandalorian, Christopher fucking Lloyd, set to guest star in season 3. Oh my god, Doc Brown is joining the Star Wars universe. This is so dope. Oh my god, I am so excited. There's so many different ways they could add add him into this. I'm so excited to see how they do this. It's gonna be awesome. All right, and then Adina Porter, Clark Becko join Lakeith Stanfield in the Changeling series at Apple. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm a very, very big fan of Mr. Lakeith Stanfield. He's truly one of the most underrated great actors of our generation. He's not that much older than me, which is awesome. And he is going to win an Academy Award at some point in his life. He is for sure going to win an Academy Award. All right. So let's get into what this podcast is all about. And I'm excited about this podcast because personally, this kind of world means a lot to me. From way back, I mentioned 2002. From way back in those days, my fucking childhood, late 90s, early 2000s, early to mid 2000s. All right. The first little personal fact about myself. The first childhood dream. Every child has dreams. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a cop. I want to be, a famous actor. I want to play in the NFL, like those kind of dreams. My first dream like that, my first dream job as a child was I wanted to be a professional skateboarder. Even though I can never I think I landed a kickflip once. I could never grind anything. Fucking suck. I'm a skater, but I love just riding my skateboard. I can just cruise on my skateboard all day long. But I was never like, I just could never really get down tricks or anything. Like, it's just me. But and that's a lot. That's a lot of people with skating. You know, with all skating is truly one of the greatest, most accepting cultures in the fucking world. Cause dude, just trying, literally just trying on a skateboard, you know, that's good. That's almost good enough. Just give it a try, have fun, see what can do with it. And so this movie, Lords of Dogtown, is truly definitely one of the best skate films out there that's ever been made. And it's the story of the group of people known as the Z Boys. All right, so first off, this movie it was directed by a woman named Catherine Hardwicke. A lot of people saw her next movie that she directed after this. It was like a little indie movie about sparkly vampires that are all emo. I think it was called Dumblight, Twilight. That movie, yeah. So Lords of Dogtown is directed by Catherine Hardwicke. Is written by Stacy Peralta. Is produced by John Linson. And the stars of the movie are Victor Razuk. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. Emil Hirsch, John Robinson, Michael Anagaro. I probably butchered his name too, and I'm sorry. And the late, great, legendary Heath Ledger. So the main story of the Z Boys in real world, the Z Boys were some of the this group of legendary skaters from Santa Monica in the 1970s that are credited with revolutionizing and basically popularizing modern day skateboarding. You know, by basically taking skateboarding, which at the time was just like a minor little leisure activity, and basically adding the amazing punk rock element to it and creating the amazing, beautiful skate culture that the world knows today. Lords of Dogtown, the basic plot of this movie is the Z Boys in the late 70s, they live in what's called Dogtown, which is just a area of Santa Monica and Venice that is just directly on the beach. The main Z Boys that are focused on in this movie are Tony Alva, Stacy Peralta, and Jay Adams. There are in the movie. They're just three teenagers from Dogtown who, you know, come from really, really low class, blue collar kind of families. Don't have much, and just, you know, hang with their friends, surf. Back then, you know, it starts out to the movie, you know, showing them being a bunch of surf rats. And surfing back then was not the popular thing to do. It was definitely like, if you're a bum, if you're a surfer back then, you were considered a bum, which is not true. So it just shows like these boys, you know, just living their life, having fun on the beach and stuff like that as teenagers. And skating is also part of their daily activities too, riding skateboards and stuff like that. And over the course of the movie, they enter competitions, and skating starts to take over more than surfing. And they start realizing there is a big, huge future in skateboarding. Like there's money to be made, there's fame to be had, there's girls to be gotten from all the things that come with fame, and basically being a pro athlete and all that stuff. And they start doing competitions, and they start, you know, gaining popularity, gaining money, all this stuff. And just a classic drama. It's just a classic drama story of, you know, take teenagers and young people who never had anything, give them tons of money and fame, and just watch the chaos that ensues. And just like the movie ends, you know, in the late before, without like showing, you know, them growing up, and gives like a montage of what happens to them all later in life. But it's just like, it's a classic, just coming of age kind of story. And really, like I said, the movie focuses on Tony, Stacy, and Jay. And really, they really personify three of the great, you know, classic kind of teenage personas that you see in just a lot of real life. Tony is the lead. Tony is the leader. He's the popular jock. He's the pretty boy. He's the, I'm going to go for it, I'm going to win. Just, he is so, He is the leader, and he just wants to go for it. He just wants to win, be number one, be in the spotlight, all. He wants it all, and he wants it now. Stacy Peralta is like the straight man. He is the straight man. He's definitely smart. He's by far the smartest. And he also he's an incredible skater just like Tony. But when he gains fame and money, he does it in a smart, proper way. He doesn't just like start living that rock star kind of lifestyle. He works hard. He invests his money, starts companies. Makes the smart choices and stuff like that. And definitely out of the three Z boys that I've talked about, Tony, Jay, and Stacy, in life, I think it's safe to say Stacy was like the most like commercially successful. Success is always measured differently by people. I think just commercially, Stacy was the most successful. And then there's Jay. Jay is the classic poor kid from just a broken household, single mother struggling to raise him, no father figures in life, and just a pure lost, just a classic teenage lost soul, just looking for love and family. And he finds that in his friends and surfing and skating. And like Jay by far is the one that embodies the pure punk rock persona of skateboarding culture. Like he didn't care about the fame or the money. He just wanted to skate and surf, and that is what makes him the happiest. And sadly, he goes down, gang life, drug addiction, jail time, all that stuff. But overall, Jay Adams was one of the biggest revolutionary forces in skateboarding world. Heath Ledger's character is a man by the name of Skip Anglin. Skip was the founder of the Zephyr Surf Shop, which at the time, in the beginning of the movie, the first like quarter of the movie focused a lot on the surf culture. And at the time, Skip was the man. Skip was number one. He was in magazines. He was popular. He runs this awesome surf shop by the beach, and like he's the local big shot. And then slowly that his fame and power fades throughout the movie, and he just has to literally make the best of what he can do, which is just basically he had to end up selling his shop and like end up working for the new owner. And it's a very humbling story of that the movie shows of Skip. And it's definitely, I think, one of Heath Ledger's greatest performances. He's so fucking good in this movie, and he was only like 24, 25 when he shot this one. So it's just he was definitely, Heath Ledger is, I think it's safe to say, was truly a modern day James Dean. All right, so what else about this movie? Okay, so what makes this movie really special is that Stacy and TA were so Tony Alva, were so heavily involved in this movie. Oh, I forgot to mention Michael's character. Michael's character, Sid, it's kind of like, he kind of represents like the person that's, part of the group but is just not the best skater. He wasn't the best skater, but he still was always with the group no matter what, and just wanted to have fun and always stuck by them. And Sid, sadly, at the end, after in the credits, said that he died of brain cancer. But Skip, I think definitely out of all the characters in the movie, I would relate the most to Sid, where like I loved skateboarding, but I was just never a great skater or that good of a skater. But you still love it, you still want to be part of it, and he was. Through to the end, he was a full part of the crew and the life. So he definitely represents like a real everyman kind of feel to the movie and to the character. All right. So what makes this movie so special is that, like I said, Stacy is the one who wrote the movie. So he was involved throughout the entire production. So was TA, Tony Alva. And so having them there, the ones that the movie's about and lived it, definitely gives the movie like the authenticity of being able to like, no, that didn't happen. And being able to do it, tell the truth, but also tell it and, make it a Hollywood movie and an entertaining movie, but also giving it real truth and authenticity. Jay was also involved, and so were some of the other Z Boys, and Skip was involved, like the real life Skip, and some of the other real life Z Boys and skaters and stuff. They said that the actors had to go through full training to learn how to truly skate and surf, and they spent months, 5 days a week, training. Well, several weeks actually, just training 5 days a week, learning how to skate in the classic '70s style. Which, watching the movie, like the skating style that they perform in the late '70s, is just it's not what skating is today. It is a completely different style. It's a very surf style. Because that's what they were influenced by, is basically all the skaters back then, the Z-Boys, they just wanted to perform the moves that they do on their surfboard on the waves, but do it on concrete waves with the skateboard. So learning how to do that style is fucking tough. I have a penny board. I've had my penny board for years now, and for those of you who don't know, a penny board is a smaller style of skateboard. It's designed on the late '70s style of skateboarding that all these guys are riding, the Zephyr boards and all that kind of stuff. And they're tough to ride. They are not easy to ride, but I learned. I just had, I was able to pick it up, and it's truly what helped me get back into skating as an adult. And I love my penny board, but it's fucking hard. The precursor of this film, there's actually a documentary that was also, I think, directed by Stacy Peralta called Dogtown and the Z-Boys. And it's a great, great documentary that you should all check out, and gives you a real inside look of, what this life was like back then and what they all went through. There's other great documentaries from even back in the '70s, like Skateboarding Kings, I think it's called. This great documentary that had them actually in the life back in the late '70s and in the Dogtown era. Let's see, other things. Oh yeah, I read that at one point David Fincher was attached to direct, and then he chose not to. And also Fred Durst was attached, which I could see Fred Durst actually being a good director for this movie. I know he's directed a few movies, but Fred Durst definitely, he was a skater and stuff. He was a skateboarder when he was young, and Limp Bizkit is a huge part of late '90s culture, and definitely a skate culture kind of thing. So he could have made it. You never know. He might have made a really good movie. There are a bunch of really great cameos. Like 3 of the best cameos in the movie. There's Tony Hawk, who plays an astronaut. I think in the same scene, because they're at like Buckingham Palace or something, there's an English guard, like the classic English guard that just stands still. That is a man by the name of Lance Mountain, a great legendary 1980s skateboarder. And then also Christian Hosoi, another legendary skateboarder and like one of Tony Hawk's biggest rivals from back in the early days, in the '80s, cameos. Because these people all, Tony, Lance, and Christian were all trained by Stacy as part of the Bones Brigade in the '80s. That's why I said like Stacy went on. That's why I said like I think Stacy is safe to say Stacy was the most commercially successful out of the main Z-Boys, because he created Powell Peralta and then the Bones Brigade, which was like this huge, amazing skateboarding team in the '80s that so many legendary skaters throughout like the '90s and the '80s and the 2000s and all that stuff came up through being part of the Bones Brigade. Tony Hawk being one of them, Christian Hosoi, Lance Mountain, Skip Anglum. He cameos as a race starter in one of the race scenes. Johnny Knoxville from Jackass is in the movie. Craig Stesick, who was actually a part of Skip Anglum's group back then, he cameos in the movie. Stacy Peralta cameos as a TV director. Jay Adams actually cameos in a scene where Emil Hirsch's character of Jay interacts with the real life Jay at a house party, which is pretty funny. So let's see what else. Okay, so this movie was shot in about 2004. So by that time, a lot of Venice had really changed physically from the way it looked in the mid to late 70s. The I think I said earlier, like Skip Anglim's surf shop ended up closing in the movie. You'll see that he had to end up closing the shop because he just couldn't afford it and run it anymore. Currently, the physical building where Skip's surf shop is still there in Venice, and it's currently called Dogtown Coffee, which it's a coffee house, but it also pays homage and helps show us the history of the Z Boys. I think there's like pictures on the wall and like other kind of memorabilia stuff like that. Let's see. One of the main sets in the movie, one of the main sets throughout the movie, and definitely in the beginning and throughout the movie, is the Pacific Ocean Park Pier, POP Pier. Back in the 50s and 60s in Santa Monica, there was a sorry, hold on one second. I just got a text message from my brother, and I'm gonna answer it, but I'm still gonna keep talking to you guys while I'm texting him back and telling him that I'm recording a podcast, and I'm not gonna be rude and take away from my amazing audience. All right, there we go. I'm back. Okay, so like I said, back in the 50s and the 60s, there was, currently in Santa Monica, one of the biggest icons of Santa Monica is the Santa Monica Pier and Pacific Park and the amusement park and all that stuff. There's also another pier, like just down the beach back then, called Pacific Ocean Park Pier, which was another big, huge pier with a big amusement park, but it closed. I think it was in like the late 60s. So back in the days of the Z Boys in the late 70s, Pacific Ocean Park Pier was still there. It was just completely abandoned, and it was just a rundown ghost town, like most abandoned places turn into. They say in the documentary, in the Z Boys Dogtown documentary, that it just turned into just a playground for, junkies, homeless, pyros, drunks, and, artists who want like a free play, like a place to express themselves. And it also became a local legendary surf spot. You just catch some pretty good waves right there against the pier and stuff like that. And it just became, it really, the beginning of the movie shows, like, it shows the classic locals only kind of vibe that a lot of beach areas, you find that locals only kind of vibe in like a lot of places, but it's definitely like beach towns like Southern California. It definitely has been one of the iconic places for that kind of vibe. And the Dogtown Z Boys, Dogtown guys, very aggressive. No locals at all. Especially fools from the valley. They all like fucking hated people from the valley and shit like that. And so like if you're not local, you come to the pier to surf, like they're gonna fuck you up. Like they're gonna throw rocks at you and break your surfboard. They're gonna tear. They literally tore. Like the scene in the movie is true. Like they literally tore out, like parts of their engine from their car and like just tossed in the ocean and just fucked them over so bad. Just so fucking mean and gnarly. It's just so awesome. Naturally the pier was going to be a big part of the movie, and they've physically had to figure out, how are we going to recreate this set? So, the POP Pier in real life was about probably a mile or less away from where the current Santa Monica skate park, the Venice skate park is, and like the Venice boardwalk. It was literally like a mile or less north from there on the boardwalk and the beach. But because the pier was no longer there in 2004, the production team had to they had to find a pier somewhere on the California coast, preferably the Southern California coast, that they could use as a stand-in for the set. And they ended up going way, way, way south to San Diego, to Imperial Beach, a few miles from the Mexican border. Imperial Beach, and they used the Imperial Beach Pier. So the crew built large bunch of additions, to the pier to add for the set, and the Ferris wheel actually in the movie is something that they bought they found online somewhere. That's one of the cool parts of movies, some cool set pieces like cars especially. They reach out to just everyday people and will pay tons of money for having cool old stuff in movies as props. So they built a bunch of large additions to the pier to make it appear that it's an old ratty rundown pier, and shit like that. And then they had to CGI a bunch of other stuff like the roller coaster and parts of the scene when they're surfing out in the water with CGI, adding layers to the pier and stuff like that. Let's see, anything else to really talk about in this one? Overall, this movie is just a really fun. It's just a really good, entertaining movie. It's a feel-good story. Definitely, if you're a skater, you should definitely be checking out Lords of Dogtown. It's just a really great story. For sure, you need to check out. For sure, you need to check out Dogtown and Z-Boys, the documentary that they made back in 2001, a few years before this. That gives you definitely, I think, a better look and more facts about the Z-Boys. Because Lords of Dogtown, while it is a biographical film, biographical Hollywood films are also still Hollywood films, and they have to embellish stuff, and they have to either add stuff or lie about stuff and shit like that. So I don't know. So pretty much most of the stuff in the movie I think is true that you see in this movie is based on fact and stuff like that. It might not everything, but overall, very entertaining, great movie to watch. Really well done. Catherine Hardwicke is a really amazing, great director. I know I was shitting earlier on Twilight. That's just because I was a teenager back in 2008, 2009, and was just so annoyed by the fandom of Twilight. But she herself is a really, really great director, who I would love to work with one day. All right, that's really all I have to talk about with Lords of Dogtown. Thank you very much for listening, folks. I hope you enjoyed my insane ramblings. I hope you're all having a great day. I'm going to now, probably either later tonight or tomorrow, start figuring out, what my next well, I already know what my next podcast is going to be about, but I'm not going to tell you because you have to listen and find out. It should be fun, I hope. Until then, thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, folks.